The night was quiet and the street was almost empty as Daniel walked home from his late shift. The air was cold and the wind moved old papers across the road. Daniel kept his hands in his pockets and walked with slow steps. It was a normal night for him, a night where nothing special ever happened. But this time, something was different. He felt like someone was watching him. He looked around, but he saw nothing. Only dark alleys, closed shops, and broken streetlights. As he reached the corner of the street, he heard a small sound. It was soft at first, like a whisper. Then it came again, shaky and scared. It sounded like a child crying. Daniel stopped and listened more carefully. The sound was coming from behind a trash bin near an alley. He took a few steps closer. His heart beat faster because the place was dark and silent. No one should be here at this hour. Then, suddenly, a tiny figure ran out from the shadows. Daniel stepped back in surprise. It was a little girl, but not a human girl. She had glowing blue eyes, small silver markings on her skin, and thin hair that looked like soft threads of light. She was an alien child, maybe 8 or 9 years old. Her small shoulders were shaking, and tears were rolling down her cheeks. Before Daniel could speak, the girl rushed toward him. She grabbed his sleeve with her small hands and looked up at him with desperate eyes. Please follow me," she said with a trembling voice. Daniel froze. He had seen aliens before, but never like this, alone, scared, and crying in the middle of the night. He knelt down so he could look at her clearly. "What happened?" he asked gently. "Why are you alone?" The girl shook her head quickly. "No time. Please follow me. Please, my mother. She is giving birth. She is in pain. No one is helping. I need someone. I need you." The way she said it, full of fear, hit Daniel straight in the chest. He felt her fingers shaking as she held his sleeve tightly, like it was the only safe thing in this world. He stood up slowly. "Where is your home?" She pointed toward a narrow alley that looked darker than the rest of the street. Daniel felt a cold shiver run down his spine. That alley led to the old industrial zone, a place humans normally avoided. Strange stories came from there, stories about hidden alien refugees, missing people, and strange creatures that moved in the night. The girl saw the fear on his face. She pulled his hand harder. "Please. I don't have anyone else." Daniel took a deep breath. He knew this was dangerous, but he also knew he could not leave her alone. "Okay," he said softly. "I will follow you." The girl nodded quickly and led him into the alley. The deeper they went, the colder it felt. The houses were old and broken, windows smashed, metal doors hanging loose. Strange symbols were painted on the walls. Daniel felt like the shadows were closing in around them. "What is your name?" Daniel whispered. "Lyra," she replied without turning. "Please walk quietly. They don't like noise." "Who doesn't like noise?" Daniel asked. Lyra stopped for a moment and looked back at him with wide eyes. "The creatures. They come when they hear sounds." Daniel felt a chill go down his neck. Creatures? What kind of place was this little girl living in? They walked faster now. Daniel kept looking around, noticing movement in the dark corners. Something scraped against metal far behind them, like claws. Lyra squeezed his hand tighter. "Hurry," she whispered. "My mother needs you." Daniel's breath grew heavy, but he followed her without stopping. He knew now that something dangerous was near. And whatever it was following them. But Lyra's family needed help, and he was the only one here to give it. Lyra pulled Daniel deeper into the narrow alley. And soon the path opened into a darker, wider area behind the abandoned factories. Broken machines stood like dead giants, their metal arms twisted and covered in dust. Dim blue lights glowed weakly from some windows, but the whole place felt forgotten by the world. Daniel kept looking over his shoulder. The strange scraping sound from earlier seemed closer now. It echoed off the metal walls, sharp and slow, like something was dragging claws along steel. Daniel's heartbeat grew faster, but Lyra didn't stop. She moved quickly, as if she already knew every safe step and every dangerous shadow. After a few minutes, she stopped in front of a large, rusted storage container. The door was covered with old wires and hanging cloth pieces. Lyra knocked twice, then tapped her fingers 3 times in a strange pattern, and the door slowly opened with a creaking sound. Inside, the air was warm and smelled like herbs. A dim orange light filled the small room, and Daniel stepped in behind Lyra. He froze for a moment. He had never seen anything like this. Around 15 aliens, men, women, and children, sat inside the container, their eyes glowing faintly. They all stopped talking the moment Daniel entered. Whispers rose quickly. A human? Why is he here? Did she bring him? He will bring trouble. Lyra stepped forward and raised her voice. He came to help. Mother needs help. She is in pain. The aliens fell silent. A tall alien man stepped forward. He had a long scar across his cheek and protective armor made from scrap metal. His eyes were dark and suspicious as he stared at Daniel. Why did you bring a human here? The man asked, his voice rough. Humans do not enter this zone. Lyra shook her head stubbornly. He is kind. And he is brave. He followed me even when he heard the creatures. The tall alien man turned to Daniel. Do you know where you are? Humans avoid this place for a reason. Daniel swallowed. I know, he said quietly. But your daughter asked for help. I couldn't leave her alone. The tall alien looked at him for a long moment, then stepped aside. Very well. If you are brave enough to walk in, then come. Lyra grabbed Daniel's hand again and led him to the back of the container. A curtain made from old blankets covered a smaller room. Lyra pushed it aside, and Daniel's heart tightened. On a pile of cloth, an alien woman lay breathing heavily. Her skin was pale, her forehead wet with sweat. She looked weak too weak. Her stomach kept tightening painfully, and she cried out softly. 2 older women sat beside her, trying to cool her head with wet cloths. The moment the alien mother saw Daniel, fear flashed in her eyes. A human? She whispered. It's okay, Mother, Lyra said, holding her hand. He came to help. Daniel knelt beside her, unsure what to do yet, but knowing he had to try. I'm here to help, he said softly. I'm not here to hurt anyone. The alien mother's breathing grew faster. The baby is coming early, one of the older women said. We have nothing. No medicine. No tools. We cannot call anyone. If the creatures smell blood. Her voice trailed off, and everyone in the room fell silent. Daniel felt fear crawl up his spine. Creatures? You mean those things outside? Lyra nodded slowly. They come when there is blood. They hunt. Suddenly, the entire storage container shook lightly, as if something heavy landed on the roof. Dust fell from above. Everyone froze. Lyra's eyes widened with terror. They're here, she whispered. Daniel quickly stood up, feeling panic rise. The aliens looked to him, not because he was strong, but because he was the only outsider who dared to enter this place. The mother screamed again. Louder this time. The creatures outside heard it, and they were coming. Asterisk. The storage container grew silent as everyone felt the weight of the danger above them. Daniel looked at Lyra, then at the terrified faces of the other aliens. Whatever the creatures were, they were strong enough to shake the whole place with a single jump. That alone told Daniel this was not a normal situation. He had walked into something far bigger than he expected. The alien mother cried again, her voice filled with pain and fear. Daniel forced himself to stay calm. He moved closer to her, kneeling beside the pile of cloth she was lying on. Her breathing was fast and uneven. Her skin looked colder than before. What is her name? Daniel asked softly. Lyra whispered, Riva. Daniel nodded. Riva, listen to me. I'm here. I'll help you. Just try to breathe slowly. Riva tried, but another wave of pain hit her. She clenched her teeth and squeezed Lyra's hand so hard that Lyra let out a small gasp. The older alien woman beside them spoke quickly. The baby is stuck. It is early. Too early. We cannot help her alone. Daniel felt his stomach twist. He wasn't a doctor, but he had taken emergency classes long ago. He knew enough to understand when something was very wrong. The tall, scarred alien man stepped forward. Human, can you help? Or will she die here tonight? Daniel swallowed hard. Everyone was staring at him, waiting, hoping. I will try, he said. But I need light. And clean cloth if you have any. One of the aliens hurried to gather whatever cloth they could find. Another lit a small lantern and placed it near Riva. The soft orange light flickered against the metal walls, casting long shadows that moved like silent ghosts. Riva cried again, louder this time. Something scratched the metal surface of the container. Everyone froze. Daniel looked up at the ceiling. The scratching sound was slow and deliberate, like the creature was testing the walls, searching for an opening. Then it moved to the side, scraping its claws along the metal again. Lyra moved closer to Daniel, trembling. They smell her blood, she whispered. They always come when someone is hurt. Daniel clenched his jaw. Whatever they are, they won't get in. He wasn't sure he believed his own words, but he had to try. He turned his attention back to Riva. Her breath grew weaker. Her eyes flickered like she might pass out at any moment. Daniel wiped her forehead gently. We need to help her now, he said firmly. Hold her hand. Talk to her. Don't let her lose consciousness. Lyra nodded quickly and leaned close to her mother. Mother, please stay with us, please. The baby needs you. I need you. Riva opened her eyes slightly and looked at her daughter with love and fear mixing together. Lyra, my brave girl. Daniel checked her pulse weak, slowing. He felt panic rise inside him, but he forced it down. He needed to focus. He needed to think. As he moved closer to help her, the entire container shook again. This time harder. Something heavy slammed against the side, and the metal bent inward slightly. A few aliens gasped and backed away. They're trying to get in. Someone whispered loudly. The tall alien man grabbed the metal pipe and stood near the entrance. We will protect the mother and child, he said, though his voice shook. Daniel looked around the room. He had one job: help Riva survive long enough to deliver her baby. Without tools, without medicine, without safety. Then he heard another sound outside. Multiple footsteps. More than one creature. Moving fast. They're gathering, Lyra whispered with tears in her eyes. Please, save my mother. Daniel felt something shift inside him. Fear turned into determination. He took a deep breath and said, I won't let anything happen to her. Or to you. He placed his hand gently on Riva's stomach, trying to understand the position of the baby. Pain shot through her, and she grabbed his wrist. But he didn't stop. He knew he had to act now. Outside, the creatures growled. Inside, a mother fought for her life. And between them stood Daniel, one human trying to save a family that the world had forgotten. The metal walls shuddered again. This time so violently that dust rained from the ceiling. Every alien inside the storage container froze. Lyra clutched Daniel's arm so tightly that her small fingers dug into his skin. Even the older aliens, who had seen many dark nights, looked terrified. The creatures outside were not animals, they were hunters. They could smell blood. And Riva, the mother, was bleeding. Daniel stood slowly and moved toward the entrance, though fear twisted inside his chest. He grabbed an old metal rod lying on the floor. It was rusty and uneven, but it was the only thing he had. Behind him, Riva screamed in pain again. Her cries echoed through the container, and something outside growled back low, deep, and hungry. The tall, scarred alien stepped beside Daniel, holding a scrap metal spear he had made himself. "Human," he whispered. "They will break in soon. They always do when there is blood." Daniel swallowed. "How many?" He did not want the answer, but he asked anyway. "3. Maybe 4, the alien replied. "But 1 is enough to kill all of us." A cold fear spread through the room. Suddenly, a loud thud hit the side of the container, bending the metal inward. A long black limb slid through a small crack, thin like a rope but ending in a sharp claw. Several aliens gasped and backed away. Daniel's heart pounded. The creature clawed around, searching for a weak spot. Then it pulled back and smashed against the wall again. Daniel looked over his shoulder at Riva. She was growing weaker. Her breathing was shallow, almost fading. The baby was coming too fast, and the danger outside grew louder with every passing moment. Lyra ran to her mother and cried, "Mother, stay strong. Please stay with me." Daniel wanted to help Riva, but the creatures would break in any second. He turned to the tall alien man. "You stay here. Protect the others. I'll hold them at the entrance." The alien stared at him. "You? A human? You would fight these beasts for us?" Daniel nodded, gripping the metal rod tighter. "Your daughter asked for help. That's enough." The alien's expression changed, fear mixed with respect. Another slam hit the wall, harder than before. A loud tearing noise rang through the container. The creatures were breaking through. Daniel ran to the entrance and pushed an old metal crate in front of the weak spot. It wasn't strong enough, but it was something. The tall alien joined him, pressing his full weight against the door. Then they all heard it, a deep, echoing howl outside. The kind of howl that made your bones freeze. Lyra screamed and ran toward Daniel. "Please don't go. They will kill you." Daniel bent down and held her shoulders. "I won't let them hurt you. Or your mother. Or your brother." "But you're human," she cried. "Humans don't come here. Humans run." Daniel gave a small smile. "Not tonight." The wall shattered. A claw burst through, long, black, and dripping with thick, dark liquid. It slashed the air just inches from Daniel's face. He stumbled back, but the tall alien man shoved the crate harder, blocking the hole for a moment. The creature screamed angrily. Now the entire container rattled violently. 2 more creatures were climbing on the roof. Daniel could hear their claws scraping the metal like knives on glass. A 3rd one paced outside, smashing its limbs against the walls. Searching for a way in, Riva screamed again aloud. Sharp cry of pain. The creatures roared in response. They were now completely focused on the container. Daniel tightened his grip on the metal rod. His legs shook, but he stood firm. Behind him were families, children, a mother in danger. He knew he couldn't fail. "Get ready," Daniel whispered. "They're coming through." Another crack ripped open in the wall. The first. Creatures' glowing eyes appeared, and Daniel stepped forward. The creatures' glowing eyes stared through the crack in the metal wall, bright like 2 burning moons. Its hiss filled the container, a low rattling sound that made every alien shiver. Daniel felt fear rise inside him, but he forced his legs to stay firm. Behind him, he heard Riva cry out again as the baby pushed closer to entering the world. Time was running out. The creature smashed the weak metal again. The crack grew wider. A long black arm shot through, swiping wildly. Daniel raised his metal rod just in time and blocked the strike. The impact sent a sharp vibration up his arm. His hand hurt, but he did not let go. "Push it back." The tall alien man shouted. Together, they shoved the metal crate against the crack. The creature retreated for a moment, but only to gather more force. Another slam hit the wall. This time, the entire container shook so violently that Lyra fell to her knees. "Mother! Please hold on!" Lyra cried as she ran back to Riva's side. Riva's face twisted with pain. Her breathing was uneven, but her eyes were full of fear, not for herself, but for her children. "Lyra, stay close," she whispered weakly. Daniel glanced back, panic in his eyes. Riva didn't have long. She needed help now. But the creatures wouldn't stop. They wanted the blood inside the room. The tall alien man yelled. "One is climbing over the roof. I hear it above us." Daniel heard it too. Heavy footsteps thudding across the thin metal ceiling. Every step dented the roof. Dust and small bolts rained down. The creature on the roof scratched, clawed, and searched for an opening. Another alien shouted, "They'll tear it open from above." Daniel made a fast decision. "Hold the door," he told the tall alien. "I need to go back to Riva. If she dies, the creatures will tear us apart." The tall alien nodded and pressed hard against the crate. Daniel ran to Riva's side. She was shaking hard, her eyes half closed. Lyra held her hand tightly while crying. "Save her. Please save her." Daniel knelt beside them. "Riva," he said softly, "you must stay awake. Your baby is coming now." Riva looked at him with weak eyes. "Help, my child." Daniel's heart tightened. He grabbed the cloth they had earlier and placed it under her. Her stomach tightened again, and she cried in pain. Lyra cried with her, holding her mother's hand. "You need to push now," Daniel said gently but firmly. "Push with everything you have." Riva screamed, pushing with all her strength. Outside, the creatures reacted immediately. They let out terrifying howls. The one at the door slammed again, this time breaking the part of the metal crate. A claw burst through, swiping inches from Daniel's back. The tall alien man hit the claw with his spear. The creature screeched and pulled back again. "Hurry, human!" the tall alien shouted. "We cannot hold them for long." Daniel nodded without looking back. "Riva, push again now." She pushed with a desperate cry. The creature on the roof slammed down hard, denting the ceiling so deeply that a hole formed. A thick black limb poked through the metal. The alien screamed and backed away. "Daniel!" Lyra shouted in terror. Daniel turned just long enough to see the clawed arm reaching down, but he couldn't stop. The baby was almost here. "Lyra," Daniel said quickly, "hold your mother's shoulders." Lyra wiped her tears and obeyed. "Push, Riva." One more time. Riva screamed, and with one final push, the baby slid into Daniel's hands. A tiny alien baby, purple-skinned and crying loudly, filled the room with a new sound. Life. At the same exact moment, the creature above ripped the hole wider. Daniel lifted the newborn carefully. The baby cried louder, louder than anything in the room. Every creature outside froze. Then something unexpected happened. The creatures backed away. Slowly. As if the baby's cry frightened them. Daniel stared in shock as all three creatures scurried away into the darkness, vanishing as quickly as they came. The room fell silent. Only the newborn's cry remained. For a long moment, no one in the storage container moved. The only sound was the newborn baby's loud cry, echoing off the metal walls. Daniel held the small infant carefully, his hands shaking not from fear, but from relief. The creatures were gone. The danger outside had disappeared as if wiped away by the newborn's voice. Lyra stared at the baby in Daniel's hands with wide, shining eyes. "My brother," she whispered softly. Then her voice broke and tears ran down her cheeks, this time from happiness. Riva lay weakly on the pile of cloth, her chest rising slowly. Her eyes fluttered open as she heard the baby's cry. She looked at Daniel, then at her son. A soft smile formed on her tired face. He is alive?" Daniel nodded gently. "Yes, he's strong, He's healthy. You did it, Riva. Lyra leaned close to her mother. Mother, Daniel saved him. He saved us. Riva reached out with her shaking hand. Daniel lowered the baby so she could touch him. Her fingers brushed the small child's cheek, and she let out a quiet sob. Thank you, human, she whispered. Daniel felt his throat tighten. He wasn't used to hearing gratitude like this. He wasn't used to being someone important. But right now to this family, he was everything. The tall, scarred alien walked toward Daniel slowly, his usual strict face softer now. Human, he said quietly, you risked your life for people who are not your kind. No one from the city does that. Daniel shrugged lightly. Your daughter needed help. That's all that mattered. The tall alien nodded. You have earned our trust. He placed his hand on his chest, a gesture of respect among their people. Other aliens stepped forward too. Some bowed. Some put their hands over their hearts. Some simply looked at Daniel with eyes full of gratitude. For the first time, he didn't feel like an outsider here. Daniel slowly handed the baby to Lyra. She held him carefully, like he was the most precious thing in the world. Her small arms trembled, but her smile never faded. She looked at Daniel and whispered, he cried for you too. Maybe he knows you saved him. Daniel chuckled softly. Maybe he does. A few aliens began repairing the damaged walls. Others gathered new cloth and blankets for Riva. The older women cleaned the ground and lit more lamps to warm the room. The entire atmosphere changed. Where there was fear before, now there was calm. And hope. Daniel sat beside Riva and checked her pulse again. It was still weak, but better than before. You need rest, he said gently. Don't move too much, Riva nodded. I owe you my life. My children owe you theirs. She looked at Lyra lovingly. He saved both of you. Daniel felt warm inside. He didn't come here for praise. He came because a scared little girl asked for help. But now, he realized he had become part of something bigger. Something meaningful. Lyra sat next to him, still holding the baby. She leaned her head against Daniel's shoulder. Will you come back? She asked in a small voice. Or will you leave like the others? Daniel looked at her, surprised. Others? She nodded. Sometimes humans come here by mistake. They see us, and they run away. Daniel took a deep breath. I won't run, and I won't disappear. I'll return, I promise. Lyra's smile widened. The tall alien man stepped forward again. Human, you have done more than we ever expected. If you ever need a place to hide, or food, or safety, this place is now open for you. Daniel nodded slowly. He never thought he would be welcomed by aliens. Never thought they would offer him shelter or friendship. But tonight, everything changed. The danger was gone, the baby was safe, and Daniel had become a protector, not just for one girl, but for an entire hidden community. As he sat among them, surrounded by alien families who now trusted him, Daniel realized something. This night was only the beginning. The night slowly turned quiet again. The creatures were gone, the danger had faded, and a gentle warmth filled the storage container. Daniel sat beside Riva while Lyra held her newborn brother close, rocking him gently with small, careful movements. The other aliens worked together to clean the space, reinforcing the walls and closing every crack. For the first time in a long time, the settlement felt safe. Daniel watched the aliens talk softly to each other. Their movements were peaceful now, no longer full of fear. Children peeked out from behind blankets, staring at Daniel with shy eyes. Some of them had never seen a human this close before, at least not one willing to help. The tall, scarred alien approached Daniel again. His voice was calmer this time, almost warm. Human, Daniel, he said slowly, as if testing the name. Tonight, you showed courage most humans do not have. You protected our families. You protected our future. Daniel shook his head. I did what anyone should do. No, the alien replied firmly. Not anyone, only someone with a brave heart. Daniel didn't know what to say. Compliments always felt strange to him. But the sincerity in the alien's voice was real, and Daniel felt it deeply. Lyra walked over to him, her brother still wrapped in cloth. She sat next to Daniel and leaned her head on his arm. "You won't forget us, right?" Daniel smiled softly. "I could never forget you, Lyra." She looked at him with hopeful eyes. "Will you come back tomorrow?" Daniel nodded gently. "Tomorrow, and the next day. I'll visit whenever I can." Her face lit up instantly. Her small smile made Daniel's chest feel warm. The older alien women approached and bowed their heads. Daniel once said, "We feared humans. We thought they saw us as a problem, a burden. But tonight, you showed us something different. Something we lost long ago." "What's that?" Daniel asked. "Hope," the woman answered. Riva, still weak but breathing more steadily, lifted her head. "Come closer," she whispered. Daniel moved beside her. She looked at him with soft, grateful eyes. "I do not have riches. I do not have anything to give you, except my trust. You saved my children. You saved me. And for that, you are family now." Daniel felt something heavy and emotional settle inside his chest. Family. He had never expected to hear that word from strangers, especially not alien strangers living in fear. Lyra placed her baby brother in Daniel's arms. "Hold him," she said proudly. "He should know the human who saved his life." Daniel froze for a second, worried he might hurt the tiny newborn. But the baby rested peacefully against him, small and warm. His little hand opened and closed, reaching out. Daniel smiled and held him close. "What will you name him?" Daniel asked. Lyra looked at her mother. Riva whispered, "His name will be Aaron. It means born in the dark, but destined for light." Daniel looked down at the tiny baby and felt something change inside him. These people weren't just strangers anymore. They were connected to him now through courage, through danger, through a night where life and death stood side by side. The tall alien stepped forward again. "We want you to know you are welcome here, always. You helped us when no one else would." Daniel nodded slowly. "And I'll keep helping. You're not alone anymore." Outside, the first rays of morning light touched the old buildings. The settlement, once filled with fear, now felt like a new beginning. A bond had formed, strong and unbreakable. As Daniel stood to leave, Lyra grabbed his hand. "Come back soon," she said. "We need you." Daniel squeezed her hand gently. "I'll be back. You can count on me." And with that, he stepped out into the early dawn, no longer just a human passing by, but a guardian of an alien family who now trusted him with their future. A new chapter had begun.